This one, it'll make you think twice about that extra candy bar, the one you snuck from your Halloween stash. This one's all about karma. And let me tell you, it gets spooky.
It's fascinating how these classic Halloween tales, the ones we've heard since we were kids, they still have this power, to grab you. They dig into these universal truths, like consequences and responsibility, kind of reminding us that every action has a ripple effect.
It's true. It's like that feeling when you tell a little white lie.
Yeah.
You might get away with it, in the moment, but there's always that nagging sense of, did I do the right thing?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's that internal struggle that these stories explore so well. So imagine you're in this small town, Maplewood, where Halloween is it's like the Super Bowl of holidays. Everyone goes all out.
Yeah.
But amidst the costumes and candy, we meet these 3 teenagers, Jake, Sam, and Lisa, who are about to get a Halloween lesson they won't forget.
And these aren't your goody two-shoes type of teens, right?
Right.
It's got a bit of a mischievous streak, always kind of pushing the boundaries.
Yeah.
And this Halloween, they decide to take things up a notch. They're going to steal candy from the little kids.
It's interesting, though, the story doesn't paint them as these evil masterminds.
Right.
They're more like kids who, got caught up in the moment, letting their impulsiveness take over, which, makes their eventual downfall even more impactful.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It's that classic pride before the fall kind of thing.
Yes.
So picture this. They ditch the usual trick-or-treat bags and grab pillowcases ready to haul in the big loot. They're out there snatching candy bags, laughing, high-fiving, totally caught up in their little candy heist.
And that's where karma starts to weave its way into the story.
Oh.
You can almost feel that imbalance building. They're so focused on their immediate gratification, that sense of we're getting away with it, that they're completely blind to the potential consequences.
Right. But things take a turn when they run into Mr. Thompson. This kindly old man who everyone in town knows and loves. He catches them in the act and gives them this cryptic warning about Halloween teaching lessons to those who misbehaves.
Mr. Thompson's like the voice of reason, almost a foreshadowing of what's to come.
Yeah.
He's that gentle reminder that actions have consequences, even on a night where we're supposed to embrace a little mischief.
But teenagers, being teenagers, they brush off his warning, right? They grab some candy from his bowl and disappear into the night, thinking they're invincible. But then they wander into this part of town they don't recognize. It's darker, more isolated, like something out of a spooky movie.
What's so clever is how their surroundings mirror their internal shift. They've literally stepped off the brightly lit path of good behavior and into this shadowy, uncertain territory.
Right.
It's like the story is visually representing their descent into a more morally ambiguous space.
I never thought of it that way. And of course, because this is a Halloween story, things start to get creepy. They hear whispers, see fleeting shadows, and this thick fog rolls in, making it impossible to find their way back.
Those sensory details really amplify the suspense.
Oh, yeah?
The fog especially is such a great symbol. It's like the line between reality and something more sinister is blurring, hinting at the karmic forces that are about to come into play.
Okay, now I'm getting chills. And then out of the fog, who appears? But Mr. Thompson. Only this time, he's not the sweet old man they met earlier.
Right.
His eyes are glowing, and there's this intense energy radiating off him. He repeats his warning. And it's not an empty threat this time.
That transformation is so crucial. It suggests that Mr. Thompson might be more than just a concerned citizen. Maybe he's a supernatural entity or even karma personified, coming to hold these teenagers accountable for their actions.
Whoa. That's a whole other level of spooky. Imagine being in their shoes, last, scared, and facing this figure who seems to embody cosmic justice.
It taps into those primal fears we all have about facing judgment for our misdeeds. It's why these stories stick with us. They resonate on a deep, almost instinctive level.
Okay, so we've got these terrified teens, this otherworldly Mr. Thompson, and just to crank up the tension, the haunted houses surrounding them suddenly spring to life, their doors creaking open like they're beckoning the kids inside.
Talk about a cliffhanger. It's like each house becomes a physical manifestation of their guilt, ready to dish out a personalized dose of karma. Oh. And that's where we'll pick up next time.
Yeah.
When we dive into their individual punishments and see if they can find a way to redeem themselves.
You definitely don't want to miss this. We'll be back next time to see what happens.
So we left off with our teenage candy thieves. at the mercy of these haunted houses, each one ready to serve up a karmic cocktail, tailored just for them. It's almost like a twisted version of those escape rooms.
Yeah.
But supernatural.
Right. Except instead of solving puzzles, they're facing their deepest fears and regrets. Let's start with Jake, the ringleader. He gets pulled into this house. It's filled with mirrors, and every reflection is distorted, showing him all these twisted versions of himself.
It's like being trapped inside your own worst nightmare. Imagine those funhouse mirrors, but instead of just making you look funny, they're reflecting back all the bad choices you've ever made.
Whoa. That's intense. So it's not just about being scared, it's about confronting those deeper, darker parts of yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The story doesn't spell out, exactly what Jake's fears are, but you can bet they're tied to the guilt and shame he's been burying deep down. Those mirrors, they force him to fake the ugliness of his actions and the pain he's caused.
That's some heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about Sam? He was always the follower, never really questioning Jake's lead. What kind of karmic punishment does he get?
Sam ends up in this endless maze of hallways. He's constantly running, pursued by these shadowy figures that never quite catch him, but they never let up either. It's like that anxiety dream where you're trying to escape something but can't quite get away.
I hate those dreams. But it makes sense for Sam, right? He never really took responsibility for his actions, just blindly followed along. Now he's trapped in this cycle of running, unable to break free from the consequences.
It's a brilliant metaphor for how we sometimes, let ourselves get swept up in the actions of others without considering the implications. We go along with the crowd even when we know something isn't right, and then we find ourselves stuck with the consequences.
Wow, that hits close to home. It makes you think about those times you might have stayed silent when you should have spoken up. Okay, so what about Lisa? She was always the brains of the operation. Does her punishment involve like pop quizzes on morality or something?
Actually, Lisa's punishment is the most heartbreaking. She's surrounded by the spirits of all the kids they stole candy from. Their faces are just etched with this sadness, this disappointment. It's like they're showing her the real impact of her actions.
Ugh, I can't even imagine. That would completely shatter me. To be surrounded by all those innocent faces, seeing the pain you've caused, that's got to be worse than any physical torment.
Absolutely. It's a stark reminder that even actions we might brush off as harmless pranks can have a lasting impact on others, especially those who are more vulnerable. Lisa, who always prided herself on being clever and in control, is now forced to confront the very real, very human consequences of her choices.
So each of them is facing this uniquely tailored punishment, digging deep into their flaws and forcing them to acknowledge the harm they've caused. But does it work? Do they break down completely, or do they find a way out?
Well, that's where the idea of redemption comes in. It's not just about suffering, it's about growth and transformation. As the night wears on, their fear gives way to genuine remorse. They begin to understand the gravity of their actions and the pain they've inflicted.
That's got to be a powerful moment. It's like in facing their darkest fears, they also uncover a capacity for empathy and compassion that they didn't even know they had.
Precisely. And it's that shift in perspective, that genuine change of heart, that becomes their key to escaping the haunted houses. It's not about fighting their way out or outsmarting the ghosts. It's about acknowledging their wrongdoing, expressing remorse, and making a sincere vow to be better.
I love that. It's like the story is saying that true freedom comes from owning your mistakes and committing to change. But what about Mr. Thompson? Does he swoop in at the last minute like a magical mentor to offer guidance or forgiveness?
The story leaves his role a bit ambiguous. He vanishes after that final warning, leaving them to confront their consequences and find their own path to redemption. It's like he sets the wheels in motion and then steps back to let karma run its course.
That's interesting. It kind of reinforces that idea of personal responsibility.
Yeah.
He's not there to hand them a get out of jail free card. They have to work through it on their own.
Exactly. But even though he's gone, his presence lingers, like a reminder that actions have consequences and there's a force at play, whether it's karma, fate, or simply the natural order of things that seeks balance and justice.
So what happens next? Do they wake up in their own beds like it was all a bad dream? Or is there a lasting impact from their Halloween night of terror?
As dawn breaks, they find themselves back in Maplewood. Costumes torn, candy bags empty, but something inside them has shifted. They go back to Mr. Thompson's house to apologize and to thank him, but he's nowhere to be found.
That's kind of eerie, isn't it? It makes you wonder if Mr. Thompson was ever really there, or if he was a manifestation of something else, their collective conscience, or maybe even karma taking on human form.
It adds this whole other layer of mystery and leaves us questioning the nature of reality and the forces that shape our lives. But ultimately, what matters is that the teens have undergone a real transformation. They dedicate themselves to being better people, forever marked by that Halloween night, when they learned a hard lesson about karma.
It's got me thinking, as we've been unpacking this story, about all the times I've felt that little tug of karma. Maybe not with haunted houses and glowing-eyed old men, but those everyday moments where you make a choice and you just know it's going to come back around. One way or another.
Absolutely. The candy thief takes these everyday dilemmas and cranks them up to 11. It's like a morality play on steroids. It forces us to confront those bigger questions about the consequences of our actions, both the ones we intend and the ones we don't.
Yeah, it's like it's holding up a mirror to those times when we're tempted to cut corners or take the easy way out, even if it means someone else might get hurt.
Exactly. It challenges us to pause and really think about the long-term impact of our choices, reminding us that even seemingly insignificant actions can set off a chain reaction with unforeseen consequences.
It's kind of humbling, right, to realize that we're all connected in this intricate web of cause and effect.
And what's fascinating is that the story doesn't shy away from the fact that we're all capable of messing up. It acknowledges that human nature has a shadow side. We can be selfish, impulsive, and sometimes downright cruel. But even with that darkness, there's always a glimmer of hope.
That's the part that really sticks to me, the redemption arc. It's like no matter how badly you screw up, there's always a chance to turn things around, to learn from your mistakes and strive to be better.
Their transformation from these mischievous pranksters to genuinely good people is so inspiring. It highlights that incredible power we have to change, to evolve, and to repair the harm we've caused.
It's like that saying, it's not about being perfect, it's about being better than you were yesterday.
And more importantly, it encourages us to cultivate empathy, to really consider how our actions impact others, and to strive to create a world where everyone feels valued and respected. It's a powerful message, especially now when it feels like there's so much division and negativity in the world.
This deep dive has really given me a lot to chew on. It's made me think about the choices I make every day, and how those choices ripple outwards, affecting not just me, but the people around me. And I can't help but wonder what would happen if we all took these lessons of karma to heart. What kind of world could we create?
That's a question worth pondering. Maybe by reflecting on stories like The Candy Thief, by examining those moments in our own lives where we've felt the weight of our choices, we can start to understand those intricate connections and build a world that's a little kinder, a little more just, and a little less spooky.
Beautifully put. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into The Candy Thief, I want to leave you with this. Have you ever experienced that instant karma feeling where you made a choice, good or bad, and felt the immediate effects ripple back at you? Maybe you cut someone off in traffic and then got stuck at the next red light, or you helped a stranger and suddenly had a string of good luck. Share your stories. I'd love to hear your real-life karma encounters.
And as you head out into the world, remember, even when you think no one's watching, karma's always keeping score. So choose wisely, folks.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into The Candy Thief. We hope it sparked some reflection and maybe even inspired you to embrace a little more kindness in your own life.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay tuned for another deep dive.